Are you ready to finish your Check Me Out poncho? I'm ready to show you how. Let's go. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Check Me Out Poncho Make-Along. I am so excited that you have reached the point of the pattern where you have both panels complete. It's time to seam them together and add a little trim around your neckline. So without further ado, go ahead and grab your pattern and your panels, as well as your bent tip tapestry needle and some yarn. The first thing I want to discuss when we're talking about how to seam these panels is how exactly are we going to go about doing this? If you look at the sample here, you can see I have a seam right here working up this way. If I use two simulated panels here, what I'm essentially going to do is match up my panels so they're like this, okay? And I'm going to have one edge fold over, so that way I have stitches matching up to rows, and the same thing on the opposite side, fold this one over, so I have stitches matching up to rows. So now these two panels simulate what you're looking at right here. So how are we going to go about seaming this together? Really easy, we just whip stitch it. You don't have to do anything special. We want them to be as butted up together as possible, and with all of the color that's going on in here, a whip stitch does the job. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab two little swatches that I have right here, and we will use these as our demonstration. These represent our two panels. You can see I left markers on here so that way I know what the right side of my panel is. What I want to do is I want to match up right side to right side as I seam these panels together. So I want to make sure that I have marker to marker and match them up just like so. Now, before I do any seaming, I want to have a visual of where I am. So again, if I pull this in, you could quickly see, okay, so this part here is going to end up coming around and it's going to be right there, right? And this part here is going to come around and it's going to be met up back there. Because initially, when you partner them up like this, you might be like, oh, I'm just going to seam this little edge right here. But that is not the case, okay? So if you partner them up, just put them together just like this. So it's like you're meeting up the bottoms. And then up here at the top is where we're going to seam. So you will take the top here and you will fold it over. I like to just fold it over. We're going to grab our yarn with our bent tip tapestry needle, attach your yarn to your piece here. I'm just going to kind of pull it in, leave yourself some tail, and then I like to pick mine up at that point because I've already established my orientation. Otherwise I get too confused. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit from over here and a little bit from over there and come across. And then I come back over here to this side, pick up a little bit from over here and a little bit from over there and come across. And I'm just doing this all the way across. And preferably, I like to seam with the same color yarn as what my last row is. And obviously I know you have two different colors going on. Pick which one really is your main color. I'd probably go with your color B and seam it up to make sure it looks good. Just pop it all together, just like so. Make sure everything's nice and even so when you get to the end here, you don't have one side that's longer than the other. And at the very end, make sure you get it just nice and pulled together. And then I will go back just a little bit ways to tuck that in. Just a wee bit. All right. And then I cut my tail, okay? This one here, I then would go ahead and weave that in. Let me go ahead and just get that done with another needle here, just so it's done. So over here, I just wanna make sure this is nice and together, because that's gonna be my neck edge, right? So I'm gonna make sure it's just popped together, weave in my tail. That'd be enough for me. And we have that. All right, so all right, so we've got that part. Now let's orient ourselves again, right? Because now it looks goofy. Pull this bit right back down so that your base is now joined together, right? Or not joined, but you know, they match up. And you can see there's my join. Awesome. I'm still looking at the wrong side of my work, right? Because my right sides are facing. So now if I do this all again, I could flip this over, be like, okay, so now this flips down and I do the same thing over here on this side. So again, I always kind of get back to like a very comfortable starting point so that way I can like orient myself, because I think it can get really confusing. So I always think about this. So I'm like, okay, that's how I'm doing it. So I come back over here, let's join our yarn at the neck, and then I pick it up. I'm not happy with that join. I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna go there and there, I think. Let me do this. Pull that in. I'm gonna come over here, there and there. Okay. So it's stitch edge to row edge. So it's not gonna be like really super easy as far as like, oh, I have a stitch for stitch, okay? Just kind of go along, make it look as even and well thought out as possible. And yes, when we open this up, you're gonna see the other color yarn because I'm using a different color yarn so that way you could see the stitches. But on yours with the multicolor, it should be pretty good. You shouldn't be able to see anything that's really super noticeable. Just like on mine, you can't really see things super noticeable. It looks great coming together. Pull this all through. Let me get down here at the very last bit. And pop my way back up a little ways. I could weave that tail in a little bit better. Like it might come undone if I just left it at that and I was wearing my poncho. I might, you know, pop it down a little bit more, but for this little reason that we're doing here, like I left that one too short. Make sure you don't do that. Leave that a little bit longer. I'm gonna just kind of go like this to weave this one in for me. Boom. I'll just leave that like that. Okay. So now you have your panels. You're like, what is going on, right? So meet up your bottoms again. You're like, oh, okay, this looks like something. I can see like that looks like it's a neck hole. Now let's turn it right side out. Turn it right side out. And you can see there's one edge right there. There's one edge right there, right? If I did them the opposite way, like I'd have an edge over here. Like it all depends on how you seam it together, where everything is going to be, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a poncho. It all looks the same. But this is how you would do the seaming of your poncho. Okay, can you see how that works? Now, the next step after you do this is to think about your cowl neck. And if you want to do any special finishing, you can do that as well. So if you want to go ahead and finish your poncho, go ahead and hit pause on the video and then come back here and join me for the neck treatment. You have joined your panels and you're ready to move on to the next step. Great. Okay, so what you will notice is the edge of my poncho does not have any extra finishing on it. When I tell you I want it to be done when it's done, that's where I'm at. So I really liked the way this sort of raw edge looked coupled with all the texture in the body of the poncho. So I didn't add any extra finishing around the bottom edge of the poncho. If you wanted to do any sort of like a single crochet edge, you could do that. I did not want to do that on mine. However, you will notice right here, I have the cowl on this portion of the actual sample, right? I really liked the idea of a nice, big, thick cowl that I could fold down like a turtleneck. So you'll see in the pattern that it's written to be 15 inches long. One thing that I will tell you is this is 15 inches long and it has a lot of give. Can you see that? It has a lot of give. And it's really not my favorite. I probably would have done a little bit less, but hey, I mean, that's what I thought at the beginning of what I wanted. But when all is said and done, you can add as many or as few stitches as you want around your neckline and then jump into your cowl pattern and make it as narrow as you want. See how narrow this one? If you want, can make it narrow or you can make it wider. You could do whatever you want. So using this as our little example here, I also want to pull this in to make sure that we're given the exact instructions. So the cowl says with color A, and the back of the neck, you're going to join with a slip stitch on the right side. You will chain 1 single crochet around the neck in a multiple of 2. So right there, it's telling you you could put as many there as you want or as few there as you want. It doesn't have to be, you know, like just a little bit. It can be a whole bunch of stitches there. If you wanted a really big voluminous sort of cowl, you could do as many as you want. Just choose a multiple of 2, okay? If you want a wider neck, add more stitches around the neck opening. If you want tighter, crochet less stitches. So that's just what I was saying. If you want this to be like a bigger neck, add more stitches. If you want it to be a little bit more snug, like a turtleneck, like what I have, add fewer stitches. Then you're going to go into a single crochet, chain 1, repeat. And then on the next row, you'll single into your chain 1s and then chain 1 over top of your singles, which gives you this stitch pattern. Okay? Really, really super easy. And you do this, like I said, until it measures about 15 inches or as long as you want it. Or you don't have to do it at all. If you just want to do like a single crochet edge around your neckline and call it good, you could do that as well. It's totally up to you. But if you want to go ahead and do single crochets around here, it's really just as easy as grabbing your yarn. I'm going to grab a different color yarn here. Start at the back and you will join with a slip stitch just at any point. Okay, it really does not matter. Don't overthink it. Just put your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and draw through that one. So you join with the slip stitch. And then I'm just going to single crochet an even number all the way around. And I could do whatever I want. I could do it like if I want to do like 2 in one area, like right here, I just put 2 into one area and maybe I do 1 in the next area. I could absolutely do that. It's whatever you want yours to look like. All right, so this one I did 1 and then I did 2. Whatever you decide to do, just try and keep it consistent so that way it looks pretty good all the way around. It's really all it is about it. I tried to keep this as simple as possible when I was doing this part because honestly, I mean, the whole pattern itself is a fairly easy pattern once you get the hang of dealing with all the yarn colors, right? Like yarn management is a struggle. And then really getting in that habit of singles on top of your doubles, doubles on top of your singles. It's a fairly easy piece to make. So I wanted to keep the cowl bit fairly easy also. I didn't want to overthink things, right? So let me just come through here. I don't even know how many I have, but I can go back and count before I join. Let me just get all the way around. I'm making this like really big, like I'm putting a lot of stitches on here. There's a lot on here. You might not want this many, which is totally fine. You don't have to have this many. You could even do a smaller amount to start with and then do a bigger amount like the next round. You could do increases if you wanted to. You could do whatever you want. All right, so like right here, you could see there, doing that many, let me pull that tail out. Doing that many really opens up that neckline. It makes it really big. I would be cautious having it that big because if you made any alterations to your poncho itself, it actually might fall off your shoulders. But if that's the look you're going for, that's how easy it would be. If you wanted it narrower, obviously you could do fewer stitches and start putting like just one stitch every so often. Maybe you decide, see, 1, 2, let's just go around 3. I'm just gonna kind of skip it and just try and keep them kind of consistently spread apart. You can kind of play it by ear. I mean, that's the beauty of crochet, is there's a lot of fiddling and creativity that you get to do on your own. So you can really make this yours. Do as much or as little as you want. I've already seen some finished ponchos in the Marley's Minions group. People were like, I only want a single crochet. Others were like, I wanted a bigger cowl, like more stitches. So they actually did a smaller number of stitches like this, and then they did a couple rounds of increases to get some really nice big deep stitches going on, or deep cowls. So there's lots of different ways you can go about doing this. But let me get here. This one, so now I have fewer stitches. You can see it doesn't billow out more, right? And so it's much more looks like a neckline, right? So if that was the case, I could count. So see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that's an even number, which is perfect. So I would join with a slip stitch to the first one. So join with a slip stitch. Then I would chain 1, single crochet into the first stitch, and then chain 1, and then skip a stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip a stitch. And you just work your way all the way around just like this. Skip a stitch, and then single crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and then single crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and then single crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet. You sick of me saying this yet? I think the harder part here is trying to not do a double, because we've been doing that for so long. Just remember to end with a single and a chain 1, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch, chain 1, and then you will single crochet into the next chain 1 space. So one thing about doing this is that chain 1 really wants to disappear. So you know what I'm going to say. Put a marker in it. Put a marker into that chain 1 at the start, right? Because you don't want to single crochet there. You want to single crochet in your chain 1 space. But now you have a marker where your very first stitch is now, and so you can come back to it. But doing this, you can see it's starting to already create something nice. And you could just do a couple rounds of it. You could do 15 inches of it. You could do 10 inches of it. You could do whatever you want. Make it your own. But once it's done, your poncho will be complete. How easy is that? All right, everybody, that's it for the Check Me Out poncho. I hope you have enjoyed this make along, and I can't wait to see all of you wearing your amazing poncho out there. I hope you've enjoyed working along with me in this manner, and you will join me for future make-alongs. We have one just about every season of the year. I think I counted the other day, we have 6 make-alongs a year, and so we would love to have you join us, whether you're a knitter or a crocheter, or if you're by crafty. If you haven't had a chance yet, go check out the Marley Birdhouse. You never know what you might find there that you might want to learn in the future, and just give it a try. All right, everybody, I'm Marley Bird, and I'll talk to you again real soon.